Hi friends! Today we are actually doing a makeup tutorial, learning how we can achieve that fresh spring look, minimal makeup, which I think requires a certain technique, and I was inspired to film this because I think I achieved just that the other day and I wanted to share. While I understand these types of videos aren't popular anymore, they're one of my most favorites to film, so hopefully someone will find this helpful out there on the internet. And if it's your first time here, hi, I'm Alicia. I'm an online coach, do lots of programming for flexibility and body weight stuff, but I also love to talk about and teach the makeups. And this will also allow for me to update on products that I have purchased recently, talking about them, seeing how they have integrated themselves into my life and such. So with all that the way, why don't you come in a little closer? That's enough. We have Frenzzz here just to further amplify the effectiveness of these products and this approach. So usually with spring, summer type skin, I find it most appropriate to use a skin tint or some sort of moisturizer, tinted moisturizer. You could use foundation sparingly depending on the tool. I think fingers will leave behind the most natural looking finish. A synthetic brush will leave behind a little more product, so more of a made up finish. Natural bristles will take away more product and I think leaves behind the closest to fingers. I guess the next one over would be a sponge, but for myself, I rarely use sponges and primarily just use either fingers and or brush. For today's lesson, I will use the Rose Ink Skin Enhancing Tint alongside the Saie Glowy Super Gel. I purchased the Saie during the Sephora Spring Sale event and the Rose Ink a few weeks before that. And some of you were wondering about the Rose Ink. Many of you had said that you loved it, and I have been using this nonstop for light makeup days, even combining it with my other foundations just to create a fresher feel upon application. It does feel like a skincare product, but it has the pigment suspension technology here where when blending, the pigments break apart and it creates this really beautiful dewy finish without feeling oily or greasy. And when combining it with the Saie, the role this product plays is to give a little more glow to the skin. It's still very lightweight and it has a pearlized finish. This particular product comes in two colorways. I have Sunglow, but there is also Star Glow, which I think is the universal shade where you can use it on its own on high points of the face, whether you want to mix it with your favorite skin tint or foundation. This is the color of Sunglow. So you see it has just nice reflectivity, but the bronzy hue is what I was after. And when combined with this combination is so fresh. When I apply it on my skin, it just feels so lightweight and I think very much appropriate for spring and summer. In fact, this will be my go-to combination for summertime. The Rose Ink for me is not so much to provide coverage because remember, it is a skin tint. What I find it excels in is just to provide that evenness of tone all over the face, to bring the complexion together in a way that's non-committal. It doesn't ask for any sculpting, bronzing, or blush highlighting, whereas when you rely on a foundation that has more coverage, it's going to give you that blank canvas that's going to look flat, right? Even if it's a great skin match, it's going to look flat because the purpose of foundation is to provide that coverage, especially if it's on the higher part of the spectrum. So usually you will have to go back in with another makeup product, say it be concealer or what have you, maybe another foundation to create more dimension on the face, right? With this skin tint, I like that my skin still looks like itself, but it's a little warmer. There's a little bit of glow there left behind. And again, the textures when combined are so beautifully lightweight and refreshing to apply. And there's a little bit of dew, but you see it's more glow leaning versus shiny or overly pearlized or shimmery. So if you have hyperpigmentation like myself, I usually like to apply skin tints and and all sorts of products first, and then I'll go in with concealer to correct. I have been using the heck of the LYS Triple Fix Concealer. Fantastic product. The shade I've been using is TN3. And I like to just place it on the portions here that need more coverage, but not overwhelming the skin, because again, the whole point is for the skin to look like itself. And naturally, it will have blemishes, it will have those imperfections that could be tough to mask, right? But it's okay, because we all have different types of skin. And no worries, yes, if you want to provide a little bit of coverage for the redness here, if you have a little blemish, and here I have some hyperpigmentation from previous blemishes. But the LYS, because it's medium coverage, it is almost like it has a blurring effect on my blemishes where they're not covered completely. It's just I guess their intensity is lessened. And combining it with the skin tint and the Saie glowy gel, I think this has been like the perfect cocktail for me. Again, for my skin to still feel like itself, like it's not overly made up. You could use some foundation, but just place it on the portions that need that extra coverage, and try not to overwhelm the skin, because if you do, then it's gonna look strange. You have like this perfectly placed patch of coverage on your jawline and everywhere else is kind of like medium coverage. So try to maintain some sort of consistency when choosing your products in terms of the coverage spectrum. That products that are medium, light, medium, you want those to stick together instead of cocktailing products that are high coverage and then light coverage. That could get a little tricky. So I think that approach will be easier. I also like to apply a touch of MG5 under the eyes. Not a ton, just to create a little more brightness under the eyes. If you want, you can place some between your forehead and down the chin. But it's funny, I've seen people just apply concealer to their under eyes and the rest of the face is left undone. And even the best of skins out there might experience some uneven tone, some redness. So it's a little strange when your under eyes are immaculately covered and then everything else is kind of like whatever. So perhaps that would be great, again, for you to consider using a skin tint with concealer under the eyes so that it wouldn't look so out of place if you use one or the other. Powder, depending on your skin type, will determine whether you go in with powder or not. I've been using Linda's blotting powder for under my eyes, which people might think that's a little too much since it's blotting and usually under the eyes is pretty dry. But this has a soft finish where it doesn't suck my under eyes dry. It just takes away a little bit of shine, where it doesn't look de-oiled to the point where it's so matte and everything else is left dewy. And I place it lightly on the portions that I know will create the most oil, but I try to keep this area untouched, because if you don't want to use highlighter, then that natural finish combining the skin tint and the Saie will leave behind a really nice glow on the cheekbones. Eyebrows, eyebrows, eyebrows. We could go several ways. If you want to keep the eyebrows light, then use a thinner pencil, because when the eyebrows are very carved, I feel the need to then follow up with eyeshadow, which I don't want to for this particular look. So if you have enough brow hair on you, you could use a brow gel just to fluff up the hairs, give them a little structure. You could also use a brow tint where it will give you a little bit of fluff, some of those brow fiber in the formula. Anyway, it gives you a little brow from the spoolie. If you want more of like that fluff and less structure, I like to use a pencil, but I'm just careful with how much I apply, and also the color is important. So I ordered refills for the Charlotte Tilbury Brow Cheat in natural brown, and the color gives me enough where the spots that need filling don't look empty, but it's not so dark that it brings down my complexion where it looks excuse me, it looks very intense and it feels like the face is missing something. Whether you want to go in with more cheek products or you will have to go in with eyeshadow, because the brows are like super sculpted and like ready to go, and everything else, like the brows are ready to go to the ball, but its friends are just ready for the house party. That's kind of the vibe we're trying to avoid. And lightly here with soft strokes on the front, not to overwhelm the front of the brow with product, because that will make them appear very heavy. Try to keep the majority of the product here on the tail end of the brow, especially if that's where you have empty spots to fill. And also carefully tracing the base of the brow, not applying a ton of pressure. You want to rely more on a sketch approach when applying your brow pencil. That will ensure a lighter hand, especially on the areas, again, that don't need a lot of product. And of course, using the spoolie to brush out the brow pencil so it can combine with the rest of the hairs. Something I like to do also is place some blotting powder or any type of loose powder over the brows to take away a little bit of slick that might have been left behind from skin tint, glowy gels, of anything you've been applying. So it creates a little bit of stick for the pencil and therefore better control, I feel, so it doesn't get away from you. So not too bad. The brows are on, but I feel they're just fuller and okay to leave by itself without any additional eyeshadow. Now, what to do for the rest of the face? If you are on the drier side of the spectrum, the creamier products I think will be your best bet, whether it will be a liquid blush or a cream blush. I have my Away makeup bag here that I brought to Maddie's house, and just to repeat what I did when over there, depending on the day, I went in with the Warm Wishes bronzer stick from Rare Beauty. If you want a little bit of sculpt but not too much, right? So you can just forego this step and follow up with blush if you feel this is like leaving the realm of spring like summer skin. But I do think it appropriate to place a little bit of a warming product on your face, because it does deliver that sun-kissed glow that I think appropriate for the season. And what I especially love about this bronzer stick is just the portability. Now, I also love Saie's cream bronzer. I've been using the heck out of that also. So either works. There's a little more color from the Rare Beauty Warm Wishes bronzer stick, which, you know, I don't mind. It does give me a little more sculpt, but with the right blend, I think what's left behind is, again, more of a sun-kissed vibe versus bronze sculpt. And of course, you have to follow up with some sort of a blush. If you are oily, then powder might be the best bet for you. I've been using Linda's Infinity palette. This color specifically has been my go-to for every day. It's a little washed out on camera because of the natural light, but it's a coral peach that anything coral peach is just the best. Some of my favorites are coral reds or even brown pinks I love as well, like the Rare Beauty that I have here. This is in the shade Hope. It's more of a medium pink but muted, not super cool tone, but it's the perfect hue for every day, I found. And again, depending on your skin type, will determine whether you go in with cream liquid or a powder. Even if you're on the middle of the skin type spectrum, I would go with a cream or liquid simply because it just leaves behind a more natural finish than a powder does. I guess unless it's the Suku Pure Color Blush, because that formula is like on a different level. But typically, if you use a cream or liquid product, the finish is more natural, and naturally, because of the formula, it will leave behind a little bit of glow without you having to use an actual highlighter, which you can. So that is the next step. If you wanted more highlight on the cheekbones, you can use like the one I have, the Suku stick. That doesn't have any color, it's just clear, or the Pat McGrath dual-ended stick where it has like a shimmery color, whether it be the nude, gold, or bronze, and the other side is just a balm. Universal, just to place enough shine on the cheekbones without actually having to use a color. Or you can use a liquid highlighter. I have Lisa Eldridge here. This is in Crystal Nebula. Just a little bit, so I just tap right where it needs to go, and a finger is enough for me to blend the product. Overlapping the blush, I think, just lends a beautiful gradient here on the cheekbones. You could place a little bit here on the arches of the brows if you want. The next step will be mascara or not. I like a little bit of mascara. I do. Depending on the day, I could leave this as is. Like, this is good. We like this. However, I do suggest you pick a mascara that's not super in your face. And my current favorites are, of course, the number one, Clio Professional True Lash. And I actually have been liking Linda's waterproof mascara, the Infinity Power Lash. This doesn't have the same serving of mascara as the Kill Lash does, but depending on the day, I think will determine which one I would choose. The other day I use Kill Lash, and I'm just constantly reminded of how phenomenal this mascara is. It has a thin brush, and it just makes it easy to get the spoolie right to the root of your lash, and there's like a stickiness to it that's ultra satisfying to feel when applying. But what puts this on the top of the pedestal for me is the curling power. That's what it's all about. I just want my lashes to stay up. Yeah. And because we're not applying shadow, I would go light with the Kill Lash. You can build this up. You could, for sure. I would combine it with another mascara if I wanted the Va Va Voom look to the lash, but just be careful not to overwhelm the lashes. You just want enough for it, or rather for them to appear up a little more black so it can stand up against your lids. You can see them, you know what I'm saying? You can skip the bottom lashes, but I do think it's a more completed look. Go for the bottom lashes. And if you have oily lids, I've just been applying the blotting powder. I would recommend that you do this before the mascara, unlike me that just forgot to do this before, so you don't get any blotting powder on your beautifully applied mascara. Now for the lips, balms, tints. What do we have here? What I have been using? Oh, of course, the Suku Flawless Lip Gloss from their pre-summer collection. I believe is Awakicha. This is a fantastic color. Amazing shine. If you want something more pink, if you want something with a little more of a tint instead of a gloss, you know, choose whatever you like. And just to ensure the brows stay put, following your brow pencil, you could then go in with some brow gel, you know, to make sure that the hairs stay in place. Okay, and here is the finished look. I hope this was helpful. This was very fun to do because I just love to share. But this will be my go-to everyday makeup routine if I needed the minimal amount of makeup but just wanted my complexion to look together, presentable, not going in with a ton. If you wanted to forego eyeshadow or lip liner or eyeliner, I think this is great for fitness professionals also. You know, if you're teaching virtually or in person, I think it just helps to have your complexion together, but it's going to withstand the sweat that comes along with that type of work, right? But if it's a ton of foundation, then it's obvious, and when you start toweling off, you're like, oh, there goes my coverage. But if it's a tint or some concealer on portions that need more coverage, it's not quite as dire, and I think this is a great approach to take. Again, if you find yourself in that field of work, or you just need to bring the complexion together quickly. And the best way, I feel, in addition to evening out your skin tone, is just to do the blush. If you were to pick one cheek product, whether it be highlighter, blush, or bronzer, always go for the blush. Highlighter is nice to have, bronzer is nice to have, but to bring life to your cheeks and just to show that there's something there. I think blush is like the best way to go, the ride or die cheek product that I feel one should decide to use if they're overwhelmed and don't know what to apply. You got your skin tint, what's next? Put the blush on. Even if you don't have brows on, even if you don't have lashes on, for some reason, when you have blush on, all is forgiven. So that's what I would do if you're deciding on which products to use. And yeah, this has been my go-to routine, and whether I switch out products to change the color, maybe one day I use the Rose Ink Dewy Blush or the Melt Cream Blush Slides or the LYS, I have so many options and I love them all, whether it's between the Rare Beauty Warm Wishes or the Saie Natural Cream Bronzer. But the MVPs have been these. As you saw, these together have been my go-to light coverage makeup cocktail of choice. Let me know what your products have been, if you've been doing less makeup or you have your go-to routine and products to achieve this type of a look. I would love to know down below. I will see you down in the comments, fam. And until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you on here again with another review tutorial, skin, face, complexion extravaganza, monthly favorites, or vlog. Take care, and I will see you again soon.